don't know why you like the original song when it's so much better to see the Gungans again.
Oh my god.
We are free.
No.
You're telling me that's worse than the
Oh
yep,
my
yep.
god.
Bub, bub.
It definitely, I mean, it totally ties the franchise in better, but
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Nerd Holes rewatch of the Star Wars live action series. That's a long title. That's not the real title. It's a pretty long intro. It's a pretty long title. Basically, what it is Will and I have been going through and we've been watching Star Wars kind of chronological live action stuff. So no Clone Wars, no Bad Batch, no any of that kind of stuff, no Rebels. So it kind of started because we wanted to watch the Obi-Wan series last summer, the summer before.
like
It's been a
last summer.
while. Yeah. So that was coming out. So we rewatched the prequels leading up to Obi-Wan.
Yep.
And now here we are. So
Yeah.
tonight we are covering the May 25th, 1983 film Blue Harvest. Yeah. So Return of the Jedi, obviously.
Yeah.
Um that was the secret title.
Ah.
That was the
Of the
secret title of
of the
this one. So when they sent it off,
was it?
that was the screen name.
I thought Blue Harvest was the original secret name of A New Hope.
It might have been. You know how Wikipedia is. I
And
just
I
remember
thought and I thought this was originally called Revenge of the Sith. Or
well,
Revenge of the Jedi. Sorry,
no.
Revenge of the Jedi.
So now that you mentioned it,
Oh,
it
sorry.
was the original
Okay.
title was Revenge of the Jedi, but Lucas thought that that was too much because a Jedi would never seek revenge. Will.
Yeah.
So what's funny is Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, was
Okay.
originally going to be named Revenge of Khan. And when they put this title into production, they changed Revenge of Khan to Wrath of Khan. But then
Oh.
Star Wars renamed it back to
It's a
Return of the Jedi. Yeah. So Star Trek just kept it as Wrath of Khan. It sounds better anyway, doesn't it, than
Sure,
Revenge of
yeah.
Khan?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
And then it's funny, Star Wars ends up using Revenge later on. So
They certainly do.
they got to do it. They got to do it all.
Yeah, they figured it out.
Yeah. So yeah, this movie was directed by Richard Marquand. And a lot of the screenwriting was done by George Lucas. Spielberg was not involved in this movie.
Hmm. Okay.
I had read that George Lucas had pulled his card from the uh, guild or something, the
Oh,
whatever they call it there, not the Actors Guild, but the
like the Directors Guild?
yeah. So which meant he had to find a director outside of the guild to direct this movie. So he couldn't use
Oh,
Spielberg. I think
wow.
Spielberg was slated to do it, but could not do
Huh.
it. It had a 32 to 42 million-dollar budget, but it grossed 482 million dollars,
Yeah,
and
that doesn't surprise
it was
me.
the highest grossing movie of that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Will, here is the thing. So now we're at the end of the trilogy.
Yeah. The original. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you feel about this? I remember last time you were kind of like you didn't really love the last one.
Oh,
originally.
yeah, parts of it, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so what are your thoughts about like rewatching this movie now?
Well, the really easy thing is to say that this this honestly feels like it's separate from the other two. It
Mm.
feels like its own thing, like almost a standalone movie.
Like it
It
had a different
definitely
director?
doesn't. Yeah, it just like I don't know. It's like it's so they kind of like re-tackle everything again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they introduce that Luke and Vader are like father and son. You have the whole like C3PO like recounting the entire two movies and up until
That's
what we
true.
just
That
saw.
is true.
And like I don't know, you're like, oh well, you're rescuing Han Solo from this thing. Like, okay, like it's not you
It
don't
starts off real
yeah.
crazy.
And like the scrolling text like explains to you what's going on. It shows the new Death Star. It's I was
Hmm.
just like, man, it's so interesting that like it really stands alone at its own 2 feet. And I think it's honestly of the three movies, I think it's the best.
The best, yeah.
And um, but really the only thing that I think the bad thing about the movie is it really pull. It's a retrospective thing. When this came out, it was totally fine. Now
Mm.
having new stuff be older than this, it doesn't make any like a lot of stuff that they say in it and a lot of
Yeah.
stuff they do in it doesn't make
Doesn't
sense
fit
at
in.
like
Yeah.
at all. And that's what
To
kind
the
of
point where you have characters acting like completely different than
yes,
they're portrayed earlier.
yes. And that honestly it hurts the film, but when you don't watch it like that, like if we weren't watching it chronologically like we
Yeah.
are, it's the best of the three. But
Yep.
watching it chronologically, it's like it's kind of like
Hmm.
not great.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think from like a franchise standard, sometimes the sequel is like not as good as the original.
Right. Right.
And usually the third movie is like just, awful. But
Yeah.
this for like being like the third movie in the series, it's
Yeah.
great. Like it's a really great third
Yeah.
act.
I definitely feel like this movie is the movie that like made Star Wars what it is. Like
Yeah.
in the larger sense. Like obviously the first movie was like a theater experience that like
Hmm.
changed cinema and like our parents' generation like it revolutionized everything. Like I mean this was like their Marvel MCU
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Yeah.
It was like this had never been seen before and this was it. And I think Empire Strikes Back capitalized on that. They made a
Yeah.
decent sequel out of it. It was a good storytelling. But this, I think this is where like heavy merchandise, TV shows,
Oh yeah.
like why there was episode one like 16 years later. Like
Hmm.
just this is what pushes, this movie I feel like really pushed the franchise to a whole new level.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it
we
was
got without this movie, you wouldn't have the holiday special. I
no, right.
mean, just
Yeah, Ewoks, the TV series, right? Yeah.
yeah. There is
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. So, like we talked about with Empire Strikes Back, there's a lot of stuff in that movie that is very much Star Wars, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that are quotable
Yes.
that New Hope doesn't really have. But this
Yes.
movie, even more. I mean, when you think about Star Wars,
Oh,
you think about
almost.
Jabba's
Yeah.
palace, you think
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
Rancor, you think about the Sarlacc pit, you
Yeah.
think about Endor, you think about Ewok. It's like everything in this movie is
Everything is,
what your
yeah.
brain goes to.
Also, the
Speeder
lightsaber
bikes and
battle with Vader.
yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff, like there's that iconic shot of them in the carbon thing in Empire
Oh
where
yeah.
they're hitting. That's a great
Yeah,
shot.
it
And
is.
obviously, them fighting on the like arm where he
Hmm.
cuts his hand off is like iconic. But so much of the like color with the lightsabers on their
Yeah.
faces and the lightning, like the hand lightning and stuff, or
Yes.
force lightning, whatever. And I don't know, just a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Visual effects are a lot better in this one.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is so now here we are in like 2024, and I was reading that like in this movie, George Lucas wanted to kind of get away from like puppeteering.
Oh,
He wanted the Rancor to be like a Godzilla style like guy in a suit,
oh,
and it looked awful. So they went back to like puppeteering miniature and
that's
then
funny.
sped the film up. And you just think
Yeah,
about like how much better this movie looks being like practical effects
yeah,
versus like all the movies we have, like modern day movies. Like, yeah, you can make anything look however you want now. It's
yeah.
but like just because you can, like this
Right.
looks so much better. It feels so much
Oh,
more
there is,
realistic.
yeah. I mean, other than what he went through and like updated and like Lucasfied,
Hmm.
honestly, so there's so many things in this movie that like it feels so grounded.
Yeah.
Like I know that the beak Sarlacc thing is terrible,
Yeah.
but
It is what it
but
is.
but when Lando has like his leg tied up and he's slowly sliding down and like Han is reaching and then
Hmm.
he's got the blaster and he's like, okay, hold still, and he's like, I thought you were blind, and he's like, just hold on, and he's like, aim a little higher, just aim a little higher, kind of thing, and he's screaming at him,
Yeah.
and he shoots, and then they get him back up, and it feels gritty, it feels grounded, it
Hmm.
doesn't feel like a Hollywood shot, it feels like two guys hanging off this thing, and he's
Oh
falling into
yeah.
it. It's crazy. I was thinking
Yeah.
about how they would film that, even a Disney Plus show that does well now. I would
Hmm.
be like, the audio would be better, the visuals would be better, the color correction would be better, it would look cleaner, you'd have more close-ups of their
Yeah.
face, but that then you I
Yeah.
don't know, it's just like a
But who
weird thing.
cares?
But because it's so, it was filmed differently, they didn't have that technology, it lends to this like ugliness to the film that makes it
Yeah.
look real.
Makes it great. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny that
yeah.
you use the word gritty because I can tell that they filmed in an actual desert. There
That,
is
yeah,
sand on everything. There
yeah,
is sand blowing on everything. Everything is
yes,
covered in it.
yes.
You don't get that, you know.
No, no,
You don't get that with like VFX.
right.
And you know what too? The beak thing is like I've had my thoughts on it before, but it does seem more of a threat if you're
Yes,
gonna get like crunched by this thing first instead of just like
true.
you fall into this like stomach acid. You know
Yeah,
that you're gonna get bit first. That's not good. That's not good.
right, right. Yeah,
Yeah. But
it's
yeah,
nice.
I
It's a
think this
thing where
movie.
you get upset with his changes, but at the same time, you're like, well, at the same time, like, I get it, but this dude
Hmm.
clearly wanted this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like somebody else went through, like Kathleen Kennedy
Oh yeah.
or some other Disney executive and like went through and was like, and I know they made Disney Plus changes. I know they did, but I'm just saying
Hmm.
the most stuff that we're familiar with, like it's what Lucas wanted. It's just like whatever. I don't like it, but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's his stuff.
Yeah. It's his franchise, right? It's his story.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you know what's funny is like I think specifically too when his remake versions of this stuff, like the Blu-ray, the special edition, he made like four special editions of this movie.
I know. Yeah,
I think at the time we were like so irritated with Lucas, and we're like, he has got to be like stopped. I mean, and now it's like we're begging him to come back.
right,
Like,
right, right.
no, it's
No,
kind of gone full
it's
circle, and
funny.
I don't think he's too thrilled either. But
I feel like it's that song by is it the Black Crows or whatever? Well, it's a remake, but it's the
hmm,
you don't know what you got till it's gone. They paved
yeah,
paradise and put up a parking lot. It's like
yeah,
it's just very true.
yeah, it's just this kind of slowly. I remember when Disney bought Lucas,
I know.
production. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's done, it's done." And then Disney started putting out good stuff.
Good
Dave
stuff,
Filoni got
right?
involved, and what's the other guy's name? I can never remember. Happy Hogan.
Oh, John
Yes,
Favreau.
yeah, he got involved, and they started putting out Star Wars content. And we're like, dude, this stuff is great. This stuff rules, man.
Yeah, I know.
And now we're starting to see the
Yeah,
yeah.
the absolute
So
crap.
anyway, we're not here to talk
That's
about that.
right, 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 right.
We're talking about good Star Wars. So yeah, I agree with you. I think. I think this movie is great, and I think I said it last time too. Like if I'm having like a Star Wars party, the two movies
Oh
that are
yeah,
going to get put on Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I mean, those are like
yeah,
the two that I'll put up. I mean, they're great movies. I love how this one takes place kind of right after,
yep. I think it's like
with
a
going to
year,
get
but yeah.
Han. There's a lot of parts in this movie where I keep saying the phrase like, "Does Luke remember that he has a lightsaber?" But
No.
no, he doesn't. But we'll get to it. So first what I want to do is I want to go through a couple of these trivia things with you that I thought were interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So let's see here. I already told you about the Revenge of Khan. It's a good one. I thought you would like that.
That is pretty good.
Yeah. Did you know that Baker played R2 and Hoplu in this movie? He played one of the Ewoks.
Did he really?
Yeah, so he had to play R2 and then he had to like jump out of R2 and play I think his name is Poplu. The other
Blue.
one with the hood, the lighter colored
Okay.
hood.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yep. So, we all know Ian McDermott played the Emperor.
Yep.
He actually was supposed to be just like in the costume and they were going to voice over his lines.
Yeah.
And he ended up like showing Lucas like his impression and they were like, "Oh, that's great. Just do that." And see how much they liked him because he played it three more times.
So wait, so the guy in this movie is the same guy in the other movies?
Yes.
Wow. But it's not the same guy from the second movie.
No. So
Okay.
actually yeah, I think if I remember correctly, it was actually Baker's wife wearing like a weird mask and voiced over by a different guy
Wow.
for like
Wow.
the original, like the couple times you see the Emperor. And so this one
Yeah.
actually, because they knew you were going to see him in person and not over like holograms, they knew they
Yeah.
needed to get like somebody to actually have like
Yeah.
the makeup. So they went with Ian McDermott. So that's cool. So, he got to play him
I didn't
a few
realize it was the
times.
same guy
I know, neither do I. Neither
from
did I.
Jedi.
Yeah, because in my brain I'm like, oh, he wouldn't have been back then. But this is
Wow.
83
Yeah, I mean,
and he's
60.
like 80 something now.
You're right,
So
right.
so yeah, he was
Oh, I know.
he was actually a little bit younger.
Wow.
You would like this one too. So you remember so the guy's name was Moff Gerard. He was the commander in charge of the Death Star, like
Oh, okay.
rebuilding.
Yeah, okay.
So originally he was going to be played by Alan Rickman. Can you imagine Alan Rickman as like an Empire like
That's really funny.
officer?
Yeah.
He was kind of a nobody then too, as far as I
Yeah,
remember.
really. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it said that Warwick Davis, he
Okay.
was
Yep.
11 when he
When he
played
did it,
Wicket. Yeah, he
that's
played
funny.
Wicket.
Yep.
And
Yep.
he said that because the Ewok suits were like super hot,
Yep.
he said that Carrie Fisher took like special care of him and gave him like cookies and chocolate milk in between takes and stuff.
Nice. Nice.
So I thought that was cool. I that was cool that Carrie
Yeah.
Fisher was
Carrie's cool.
super
Yeah. No,
nice.
Carrie's cool. Yeah. He's in the same he's in Phantom Menace. He's like
Yeah.
one of the random guys like yelling in the background when the pod
Woo.
racing is happening.
Doesn't
Yeah.
he doesn't he go on to play the Leprechaun in the Leprechaun horror
He
movies?
might maybe in the very first one. I don't know if he plays him in all of them. He's in Willow. Like that's a super
He
famous
was
movie.
in Willow. Yeah.
Yeah, like everybody knows him from that. But
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So this is the first movie where we hear the term TIE fighter, and it's said by Lando Calrissian.
hmm. Oh, okay.
Yep. So it's
Because
the
when
first time
they
it's
like
ever
say
mentioned.
like fighters or whatever, they just kind of say,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I think they say fighters early in the other one. Yeah.
bombers
So
or something. Yeah.
and I think the TIE fighter comes from like the twin ion engines. I think that's what they're named after.
Yeah.
You probably know this one. Akbar originally said it's a trick.
Yes, I did know that.
So that's
Yeah.
awful.
It's a trick.
It's a trick. The Emperor's chair was supposed to be mechanical, but it didn't work on set. So Ian McDermott had to like shift his feet in the chair, and they put a piece of tape on the floor to like mark where he had to stop shifting his feet because the camera would see it. So he literally had to like scoot his feet to the tape mark and then like totally stay still and just be like, ah, young Skywalker. No,
uh
how funny is it to picture like the
can't.
sinister emperor just being like, oh.
Also just
That's
trying to be
great.
Mark Hamill and and like not crack up every time he's trying to be insidious and then
Oh,
like
it'd be great. How funny
hold
would it be
on,
too, like if
hold
his
on.
feet didn't like touch the ground in that chair because the
Oh,
chair is so high?
the way you're describing it just makes me think of Robot Chicken. That's all.
Oh, exactly. It's where all that stuff comes from. So Neum Nub, your favorite in this movie,
Oh yeah.
he was voiced by a Kenyan student. His name was Kipsang Katich. So it's a
Okay.
Kenyan dialect called Heya.
Oh.
And yeah, so he was a student and they grabbed him for just to do the voiceover lines. And it said the people of Kenya like loved the fact that it was like super like authentic and it was
That's
cool.
cool. That's cool.
So, the scene where Luke goes and talks to Yoda.
Okay, yeah.
So picture this movie without that scene.
And like him not talking to Obi-Wan
Just
either.
doesn't even exist.
That's kind of
I,
rough.
I think he would have talked to Obi-Wan later on, probably
Okay.
on like Endor, but not here on Dagobah.
Yeah. Oh, remember, Forest Moon of Endor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Witch of Endor,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so George Lucas asked like a child psychiatrist, and he was like, kids are not gonna believe that Vader isn't lying to Luke if you don't specifically
Oh wow.
tell them. And then he talked to Earl Jones, and he was like, yeah, Vader's lying for sure. It's not true. So he like specifically wrote this scene with Luke going to see Yoda and Yoda confirming, yes, Vader is your father. We lied
Wow.
to you.
Wow.
So literally, like this movie did not have that planned in it, which is crazy to me. Because that scene is so good. Like Luke going
Yeah.
back to see Yoda.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, the biggest thing is him going back for his training. And it's like almost like an necessary
Yeah.
scene. And then
Yeah,
on
he
top of it,
yeah, because he
like
leaves. He leaves early.
Yoda gives him like
Yeah.
I don't know. He basically says, "Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. I don't want to.
And
Yeah,
then we wouldn't know like what had happened to Yoda. Like after this movie, like
right, right.
what happened to Yoda? Is he still around? He's like, oh, so tired. So tired.
Oh, please.
Hmm? We're 900 years old you are. So Anthony Davis, the guy who played C3PO,
Okay, yeah,
he had a panic attack
yeah.
when
I did.
Salacious Crumb was chewing his eyeball out.
Oh, really?
So that scene where Salacious Crumb has got his eye out, he had like a
Yeah.
panic attack. And they kept it in the original shot. So that the scene where C3O is like setting up and like, get me out of here. That's literally like
Oh,
Anthony Davis having a freak out. Yeah.
that's
It's
terrible.
terrible. Yeah. Yeah, they kept it in. They loved it.
Oh,
Anthony, that's your best work. That's a
can
wrap
you
on today.
imagine
That's
like
your best.
every time you watch the movie, you're watching yourself have a panic
Have
attack?
a
Like
have a
that'd be
freak out.
terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I would freak out with Salacious Crumb too.
Well,
I
yeah,
hate
yeah.
that
Maybe
stupid thing.
yeah.
Oh God, yeah, he's pretty good. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so here's the part about Christian, Hayden Christian.
Okay.
He was asked by George Lucas just to film, a little thing, and
Wow.
that turned out to be his Force Ghost appearance for the special edition.
And
And
he
he
didn't
said if
tell.
he knew, if George would have just told him what it was, he would have acted completely different. He would have
Yeah.
like, tried to be more inspirational and like, happy. But he kind of was just like, I don't know what I'm doing here. So it looks weird. It's
Wow.
like, why wouldn't you tell him? I don't understand.
Maybe he was afraid he was gonna spoil it or something.
I
Let
don't
it
know.
out.
It's stupid. But yeah, so again, he kind of looks bad, right? Where he shows up and he's like all kind of smiling, looking down at the ground. It's like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
not appropriate. I don't know. Yeah. The other thing we talked about last time too was like a lot of times like stuff would get named from merch, like merchandise, like
Yes.
Boba Fett was named from merchandise. So
Yeah.
Ewok is never mentioned. Wicket, Poplu, and all the other Ewoks are
Oh
only
yeah.
named for merchandise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So the other one here is Femi Taylor, the girl who played Ula, the green
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Lilac.
Yeah.
She came back to film new shots
Yeah.
for the remake.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And they literally used like original scenes and then new imposed scenes of her. Like she looks the same. It's 15 years, she looks exactly the same.
Right. 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 Right.
It's kind of crazy that like those shots are 15 years apart and it's like you have no idea that they're not the
It's
original
seamless.
shots.
Yeah, seamless.
Yeah. I think the other thing they added in that scene too is like Boba Fett like flirting with the other girls, right? Where he kind of like
Oh
walks
yeah.
in. Yeah.
Yes. 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 Perfect.
Yeah.
Always what we needed.
Yeah. So moving forward into Mando, this just so you know, this is 5 years before season one of
Wow.
Mando.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a pretty close timeline. This is the only movie that Vader does not force choke somebody.
Nope. But a
Yep.
Skywalker does.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we'll
Yep.
talk about it. We'll talk about it.
And then the last one here, which I thought was interesting because it's like synonymous with this movie, is Luke Skywalker's saber was blue in all of like the original
Yeah.
shots of this movie. And Lucas wanted to make sure everybody knew that like his original saber is gone. He had to rebuild a new one, so he recolored it green.
Hmm.
So the audience knew he built his own lightsaber. Because you would have just thought, well, he found it somewhere or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
how funny is that? Because even the poster of this movie is him with the blue saber.
That's true. That's
So, but the green saber is so iconic to Luke Skywalker. I mean, it's like,
yeah. Yeah. No, it
you know,
is. I know.
it's kind
Hmm.
of crazy. And that's
Interesting.
what's funny too, like going forward with all like the saber color lore that like comes up,
That's true.
this is
Yeah.
what all those colors mean. But back then it was just like Lucas was like, well, it's a new saber, so I don't want people to get confused with blue. So just color it green. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thought that was pretty good. So yeah, that was it. Those are some interesting things I found.
Very interesting.
And now we can dive in if you want, like stuff that really stands out to you or anything specific you want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, the opening stuff is pretty quick. I mean, obviously the Death Star being rebuilt bigger is,
Mm-hmm.
Vader and all that, and that's fine.
Yeah,
He's like, the Emperor's coming, and I don't
they
know,
get to
just
blow up the
already,
Death Star again.
yeah. The all the Jabba stuff is pretty decent. I enjoyed all
Mm-hmm.
the things.
I I hate the new singers
Yeah,
in Jawa's Palace. They're real bad.
the screaming guy like is like okay, but like the kissy face
Yeah, it's terrible.
thing, it's too much.
It's too much, yeah. And then even like when he's singing, they had to like go in and animate like
Oh, the
saliva
saliva in his
dripping off
mouth.
it. It's just like,
Got to make it
you
look
know what
real.
I like? I like Max Rebo, the little blue elephant guy, just playing the piano. That was what's
I
wrong with
know.
that,
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty
all
terrible.
that stuff is good. You know, I don't know.
Do you always forget, like as a kid, that like that cool helmet guy with the Wookiee is Leia?
No.
Like when you were a kid? Yeah.
Mm, no.
Because I remember the action figure for that came with that helmet, and that was always the thing that was always like lost. Like everybody was like to fulfill their collection nowadays, like that helmet
Oh,
is like
gotcha. Wow. No, yeah, I always kind of knew.
it's a great helmet design.
Yeah,
That
yeah, oh yeah.
character.
Even the voice is really great
Yeah.
too. Like it chill or whatever. Yeah.
I like how she talks to him for a while before she's like, "Oh yeah, I should probably like take off my helmet and talk to you in my normal voice." You know who it is?
Well, that's for the audience. That's for the
Yeah.
audience.
And then the big
This
reveal that like Jabba and all his buddies they were just watching from behind. It's like, wow.
yeah. Just
Why
enjoy
would they allow her? It's funny.
because they were watching to see if it really was somebody, right?
Yeah.
This is the thing, and I know, but it's such a crap thing with Boba Fett. It just
Oh
is.
yeah. Well, yeah. And you'll never see him again.
Yeah,
40 years.
but not. It's just like you think
It
about it.
is. Yeah, it is.
He's in every movie, right? He's in the background.
Yeah.
You know, he in A New Hope, he's like standing there in the docking bay, and then Millennium Falcon, Empire Strikes Back. Vader talks to him, and he goes and he's on Cloud City and all that stuff, and you're like,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
He takes Han Solo. You're like, wow. Then the movie opens up, and he's inside Jabba's palace, and he's all like, being sweet with the
Yeah,
girls, and
he's this suave bounty hunter,
when Leia takes out the thermal detonator, he like
He does
draws
that
his
like
gun. Well, yeah,
but he gives her
later.
that he gives her that nod of respect, like, yeah, that's how you bounty hunt right there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how you get a better price.
Yeah, it's like okay, and then everything starts to go down in the skiff, and he uh what do you call it? Like
Let's see. Let's make sure this is locked in. 3 clicks to the left, 3 clicks to the Bubble back. Bubble back.
uh,
It's pretty
and it's like
lame.
it's funny. It's funny from a Han Solo Chewbacca standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Like this line that's iconic happens and it's great, but it's like for what Boba Fett is and like how much they build around Boba Fett. It's such a terrible ending for his character. Now I know there's stuff in the future, but it's just
Hmm.
like it's just so funny to me.
Yeah, but for our entire like childhood into our adult life, like that was just where Boba Fett's end.
Right.
It just ended
Yeah.
there.
There were like comics and books and stuff, but right, there was like nothing live action.
Uh-huh. Not until Patton Oswald explained how he would return in Parks and Rec, and
I know. Yep.
it's ridiculous that he just got his jetpack like grazed essentially, and it just
Like, oh,
took off.
yeah.
And not to
Uh,
mention, he has like a flamethrower. He has like a
yeah.
cord, like extension cord on his thing that he can like lasso people or pull
Yeah.
himself to it. He has like the other jetpack engine he could have used.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The but I think some of the like most painful things that happen that I'm just like looking at it this way and then going and watching the prequels is like why did Lucas do what he did?
Hmm.
It doesn't make any sense. Like it really doesn't. When he when Obi-Wan is confronted
Yeah.
that like, you know, hey, why did you lie to me? And he's like, well, I
From a certain point of view.
he's like, from a certain point of view, like what? Like what are you talking
Yeah.
about? And
You
he
lied to
explains
me to
it.
my face.
Right. Right. And then he's like, well, you have a sister.
Oh well, your father was a little pouty baby too, and we didn't want to really upset you. So it, you know,
Right, right.
how can they
And
do this? How can they do this?
yeah, and it's so funny to me that like he I don't know, that he just that's what he does. He makes all this conversation with him about what really happened and what didn't really happen.
Yeah,
And all
yeah,
of a
and it's
sudden,
just such a lame,
yeah,
Oh yeah, he killed your father. It's like, well, yeah, yeah, like not in a physical sense, but like
right,
in like an emotional,
right,
you know,
right.
like he is Vader now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
And he's like, and then we protected your sister and you from the
yeah.
Emperor.
It's like, well, the cat's out of the bag now, dude. Like Vader's after me and Leia's working with me.
Right.
Don't you think those are pivotal information for this
Yeah.
this this thing? If I'm supposed to go and fight Vader, shouldn't I know more about shouldn't he not be able to use the strongest thing emotional thing that he can use towards me?
Right.
Like you want me to stray away from like anger and hatred, but what
Right.
you just did makes me feel that way towards you guys. so
Right.
what's you're giving me mixed messages here?
Yeah. And I yeah, I think it's interesting though that like there's two small like quick scenes, and one is when Luke is walking into Jabba's hut and he like chokes the pig guys. I don't know what their real names are. I forget what they're
The
called.
Gamorrean guards.
Yes.
Jeez.
And he chokes him, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
that's kind
force
of like
chokes.
the dark side a little bit, right?
Yeah, but he's wearing black robes, so he's evil.
Yeah. And then when Vader is welcoming the Emperor onto the Death Star, and the Emperor is like, well, we're gonna we're gonna bring him here. We're gonna take care of business.
Mm-hmm.
And Vader like stops and kind of like looks at him, and he's like, "This is the Vader or Emperor's like, yeah, it's coming together. Everything that I like saw."
Yeah.
And I almost wonder when it comes to it that like if has this idea been festering, because like watching it chronologically, has this idea been festering in Vader's mind that like, well, the Emperor lied to me, like
Oh
Padme
yeah.
didn't die and I have kids, like I've interacted with Luke,
It has to be.
and now he's just watching the Emperor just kind of like, I almost wonder, remember that cut, ever seen that
Because
cut in YouTube where they show uh what the heck is his name? Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan like sitting in the room and he's talking about the old, and they cut to the prequels and they cut
mm-hmm.
to like the Clone Wars
Yeah.
stuff as he's talking. I almost thought like it'd be really cool to have him like cut to Mace Windu like in the thing being like, no, he's like, we have to kill
Oh
him.
wow. Yeah.
He's the
He
reason for
must stand
right,
trial.
right.
Yeah.
And, like the whole
That would
yelling.
be interesting.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, no, I think you're right because this whole time the Emperor has been able to use, his love for Pan wow, what's her name?
Padme.
Padme. He's been able to use his love and fear of her dying and then his
Right.
hatred for Obi-Wan for years.
For years.
And now Obi-Wan is dead, and now he realizes like, oh yeah, you have kids and stuff, but like
Yeah.
that wasn't that wasn't relevant. So it's
Right.
like,
Hmm. Right. Yeah. It's
yeah,
interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because in the second, in Empire, that's kind of like Vader's plan now is that he wants him and Luke to rule as father and
Yeah.
son.
Right.
So he immediately gives, he throws the whole like Order of the Sith like out the window. He doesn't care about it. It's,
Yeah.
and the Emperor does because the Emperor wants either Luke to kill the Emperor to give into his hatred and become a Sith,
Right.
or kill his father and serve Palpatine as a Sith. And like
Yeah.
that's why the Sith Order is always such
It's
a
messy. Yeah.
yeah, it's real messy. It's like the mirror
It's
universe.
like the mirror universe.
You
Yeah.
have to kill the person to succeed them. You
Yeah.
kind of run out of people at some point, you know.
And it's like, okay, and it's interesting. But I honestly think um I mean, one of the worst interactions that they have in here that really just, I don't know, maybe there's somewhere they explain it, but like, how does Leia know anything about Padme? You
Oh, right. The whole like, oh, I just remember, snippets of my mom. She was really young when she died. I was really young when she died. It's like,
Right.
yeah, you were like not even 30 minutes old.
Yeah.
Is that a force thing? I don't know, Maybe. That's the thing about Star Wars, right? Any plot
Yeah.
hole you can find, it's like, that's how the force works.
Right, 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 right. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true.
I just with her being like, I only have things. He's like, I don't remember my mother at all. And I'm like, well, of course you don't. Neither one of you do.
Yeah, you're both
I don't know.
lying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, if anything, I feel like it's through the Force that Leia
Mm.
remembers like her mom. You
Her
know,
mother.
she's had like Force visions, or
Well,
I
I mean,
forget in the books.
she's more powerful.
I think well, I can't remember like in the books moving forward. I think she has her Force abilities are more like insight and stuff, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
mean, she can survive the vacuum of
Well,
space.
I'm not
So,
talking about that, Will.
oh, okay. Oh,
I'm talking about canon stuff. I'm talking about the books that have been banned and burned in countries. Disney, Kathleen Kennedy wrangled all the books and burned them in the
burned
streets. I'm talking about those. That's
yeah,
the other thing that's fun, like I was saying in the beginning, is like the whole time I'm like, why does Luke not use his lightsaber?
yeah.
So like, why does Luke give R2D2 his lightsaber and send him into Jabba's palace?
I almost think I agree with you, but I almost think it's because he anticipates getting arrested and getting like frisked and it getting taken away from him.
Well, yeah, but yeah, maybe, but like, again, it's a lightsaber. You're
Just
not gonna get frisked if
cut their hands off.
because Bib Fortuna comes in. He's like, "You're not supposed to be," and he's like, "Take me to Jabba," and he's like, "Oh, right this way."
You got it.
You got it, but like that would have been a little bit more menacing than like, "This is your last opportunity to set us free, or you'll die." And it's like, yeah, I'll take that risk.
Yeah,
And then because then he fights the Rancor and he doesn't have a
yeah,
saber, and it's like
right.
he you could have solved a lot of problems if you just had to use your saber.
Yeah.
Why even have one?
How about shirtless man being really sad?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because that's one of the saddest scenes in this entire movie.
I love
That, and
it
when the
so
other
much.
Ewok gets blown
Oh,
up
we
and
don't
then
talk
his
about that
buddy,
scene.
yeah, these are the two saddest scenes in the whole movie. So that guy's name is Malakili. He's a human. He was born on Tatooine.
Okay.
He's the Rancor handler.
Yeah.
And you know what the Rancor's name is, Will?
Bibby.
It's Patissa. That's the Rancor's name.
Batista. Wow.
Yeah. So this guy in like the books and novels and stuff, he's been in those, like referenced in those, which is crazy to me that he like after
Hmm.
everything happens at Jabba's palace, he like goes on to like help out Cobb Vance, which
Wow.
we'll see later on.
Hmm.
That's kind of interesting.
You
But I
know
thought
what
that
I
was
thought?
really funny that they're like named, like specifically
Oh,
named, and have backstories. And
I'm not surprised anymore in this day and age. The thing
even
I thought,
the other guy that grabs him, that's
oh,
like
like
crying
hold
with
up.
him.
Yeah.
I think his name was like Galilee or something.
That's funny. Yeah, the thing I was really hoping for in that stretch before Luke goes into the pit is it I don't know. I almost feel like that's what what's his name? Lucas should have like fixed or added was him being like Skywalker and then being like
Mm.
Annie's, like he knew, like
Yeah, he would have known
Skywalker,
Anakin.
right? And he would have, what was her name? Smee, like
Mm.
Smee, and then being like, "Aren't you the son of Lars?" Like, like, how are you a Jedi? You're just a farm boy. Kind of like
Yeah, right.
it
Yeah,
would.
right. Because Luke grew up on Tatooine. He knew all these people.
He knows everybody. He's hot
Jabba's
down the
like the
nut.
main crime boss of the
Right,
entire planet of Tatooine, of all
right,
of Mos Eisley. And he's
right.
just like, yeah, I'll just roll right in. He'll take me
Also,
seriously.
like I know he was sleeping, but like Anakin Skywalker won the pod race, so he knows like the Skywalker name.
Yeah, but Lucas didn't write any of that stuff yet. Well,
No, I know, but I always felt like even back then they could have grounded that Jabba knew who Luke was because of Luke being raised on Tatooine.
well,
Because he
yeah.
even says it to Han Solo, like, "This is where I grew up, so no worries," kind of thing.
Yeah, but also like here's the I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
But I'll play devil's advocate because
Okay.
here's what's interesting. If Ben and Baru were really doing their job, they
Mm,
would not have allowed Luke to go and mingle with people in Mos Eisley and get to like know him.
yeah, I mean, he definitely didn't go to Mos Eisley because in the New Hope he was like, "What the heck is
No,
this
no,
place?"
no. So it's like he was a farm kid. They raised him on the farm, and they would like run into town occasionally, but not Mos
Yeah,
Eisley. So it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
maybe the they wouldn't
yeah.
have been super
Maybe,
known.
maybe, yeah.
But he sure seemed to know his way around when he
Aren't you
got
Luke
there.
Lars?
Yeah, I'm Ray Laws. Yeah, so that's pretty good. It's pretty good. I always like the Gamorrean guards,
Oh yeah, they're great.
Green Pigmen. I think that's what we need to do for Comic Con is just put green paint on us and
I want a full suit.
well, we just
Right,
need the
right.
masks, and then we'll just put
Yeah,
body paint on.
perfect.
Oh man, yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I super enjoy them.
Yeah, and then the next scene where Luke should have used his lightsaber was the speeder bike chase.
Okay.
So he's like, "Get me close, get me next to that speeder bike," and they're like, "Okay," and then they like bump into him, and he's
Yeah,
like, "All right, I'll jump on him."
yeah.
He could have just been like, bzz, bzz. "All right, keep going,"
Or like choke them off of it or anything, right?
or just force push him into it. Yeah, it's
Right.
just
Yeah.
the Star Wars universe plays very fast and loose with force abilities and
All
stuff.
force
Because
abilities. Yeah.
even in like Rebels and all that
Yeah.
stuff, Clone
Yeah.
Wars, they're like,
Everything.
"Oh, what do we do?" It's like they'll be like surrounded on like a platform or something,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
like, "Well, I guess we have to surrender." It's like, well, you could also just like force push everybody like off the platform,
Yeah.
but maybe that gives into hate.
Or
I don't know.
run away really fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, they use that once.
One time.
That they've never had to do that ever again. Force run, yeah.
You would think when the electric force fields are closing between Qui-Gon and
No.
Darth Maul, like Obi-Wan would have like jutted quickly between them.
I
But
bet you they could force run so fast they could run through the frequency of those barriers, but no.
this is
That's
the
not
other
how the
thing
force works.
too was yeah, loser. Um Another thing I thought too was like looking at it this way, you just think of how much Obi-Wan is lying to Luke from watching it from the prequels angle.
Yeah.
Is when he's like, well, yeah, I decided to raise Anakin. And you're like,
Yeah. I remember that. And it was like, no, you
no, you
didn't. You filthy liar.
like, no, there's no mention of
Yeah.
Qui-Gon, there's no mention of anything.
I think old Ben's got a little bit of the Alzheimer's going on.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm not raising this stupid brat. And Qui Gon's like, you have to do it for me because
Must.
I'm dead now. And he's like, I won't do it. Yeah,
But then
so anyway, I decided to raise him.
so then you have to think that when he meets Qui-Gon again in the desert to get trained more, Qui-Gon's like, don't tell him about me.
Why the heck did you lie?
Oh man.
Yep,
Yeah,
pretty
that was
good.
really funny.
Yeah.
The robot like scar damage after the battle on Tatooine when he's like putting the glove back on in the
Oh
X-Wing
yeah, he gets
is
shot in the
like
hand.
yeah, is like
That's pretty
really good.
cool.
I
That's
really
pretty
like
cool.
yeah.
I've never caught that scene before for whatever reason when he's got like the lightsaber up and he gets like shot in the
Oh, blast.
hand.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's also that great scene too where he cuts off Vader's hand
Yeah.
and he's kind of comes to this realization. I think the point of that is supposed to be like, this is just going to keep going full circle unless I
Right.
put an end to it, you know?
Right. Right.
He
Right.
cut off, he had his hand cut off by his,
Right.
master. Then he cut my hand off, and now I cut his hand off, and
Right.
then he'll cut my hand off. We'll just be in the same place, This ain't gonna.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
faith in your friends is yours. Ah, hello.
Oh.
Ah, your desire of treats will be your downfall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great line. Palpatine's line there.
Yeah. Is he even like even in this he's not named as Palpatine, right?
He's just the Emperor in all these movies. He's never
Yeah.
named
Yeah.
Palpatine, and Sidious never is mentioned.
Right.
Sneeve. Sneeve Sidious. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. It's cool
I
that
like
Lando flies the Falcon.
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
I
He's
do.
not
Yeah.
going to get a scratch on her, but then he blasts
It smashes
the
the front
ray or
end.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh.
So that's why in
Force Awakens, yeah.
yeah, it's got like a different deflector thing on it. But
Yeah.
who cares?
Okay.
Uh, who cares? Yeah.
What is the other thing I was thinking was oh man. Oh, it's when they're up on that like I think it's like the landing pad and Vader and Luke are like talking and Luke is like going with Vader to the Death Star
Hmm.
and then like Vader turns on the lightsaber and
Mm-hmm.
he's like looking at it. He's like, "Oh, you've made your own lightsaber."
Your
It's just like
training is complete.
it's just an interesting thing. Like it's a really subtle way of showing that he's connecting with his son.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and in
he's
this
still
movie
controlling.
they
Yeah,
call each other father and son.
yeah. Immediately he says to him, "Yeah, father," and he goes, "Oh, so you've found like you believe in the truth or whatever he says to him." Yeah, you've accepted the truth. That's what he says. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Oh, there is another.
yeah. That is a
Your feelings betray you now.
two. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty good. You've been
Yeah.
kissing your sister, you.
I like that too. I like how Han again in this movie is jealous of Luke, but then like totally, just kind of like is a man about it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he's just like, hey, like if that's what you want, then that's fine. And she's like, you idiot.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that. I like that.
It is
Like
good.
you told Luke though, didn't you? And he like goes to walk away on the bridge, and he's like, "No, actually, I should probably just be an adult about this whole situation." It's funny to me that Harrison Ford wanted nothing to do with this movie, hated the role of Han, and didn't want to come back for this movie. And this is his best portrayal of Han Solo that we get in the
He's
franchise.
great in this movie.
This is the best portrayal. This is Han. This is my Han Solo in this movie.
I know.
He's talking that scene where he's talking to Lando. He's like, "Oh man, I wouldn't be stupid enough to sign up on for that mission, flying into the Death Star and blowing up the array. Like, oh, you got to be out of your mind. They offered me that, and I turned it down because I am like not gonna kill myself. This is ridiculous." And they're like, "All right, so, Lando's team, you're all set now. The team is gonna go on the planet and actually go in and detonate the array and fight the troopers and be like hand-to-hand combat. That's being led by General Solo." Like, what?
Yeah.
Great. It's great.
The two, like the three scenes besides the Jabba's palace stuff, because all that stuff is great. Like,
It's always just wet.
Chewie petting his head, and he's like, "I'm all right. It's okay. I'm all right." Yeah,
I
but
can't see, Chewie. I can't see.
is the first one is when they're looking at the what scout troopers,
Oh yeah.
and he's like, "I'll go take care of it," and Luke's like, "Okay," but quietly, and he's like, he kind of does this like it's, what are you talking about? It's me.
Yeah.
That's a great scene.
Yeah.
The second one is when he's working on the door, and the door like
Mhm.
opens and then it closes, and he's like,
Yeah.
he makes this face like, "Are you kidding me?" He gets
Yeah.
really frustrated. And then the third one is when the guys come running out of the shield generator, and then
Yeah.
all of them surround him, and then he's
He
like,
does the
"Yeah, like
because they just ambushed him and
right,
everybody inside,
right, yep."
captured them, and now like they all come running out and they capture them, and he's
And then
just
he
like
walks in
that smug, like, what are you gonna do?
him. Yeah, right. Then the Ewoks eat him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's that scene, I'm convinced, where they're like, "Ugh, spear him again," and they're like shoving the spear in the
Well, yeah, because then he's playing on the drums of the helmet, right? It's
yeah.
like
Oh yeah, there's still skulls and helmets.
they're done, they're gone. They're all like
Yeah, yeah.
just eating all the stormtroopers.
Well, they're gonna spit roast the
Right.
the the whole crew.
Yeah. They were
Oh,
like, "Hey,
apparently they
listen."
think I'm God. C3PO.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
Oh, the other
That's
scene
so
too,
funny.
where he says the C3PO, he's like, "Hey, ask him this thing." And he pushes him back around, and then he goes to talk, and then he pulls him back, and he's like, "Hey, and make sure you ask about this thing." And he pushes him back,
Yeah, and we
and then
need weapons. And
right,
yeah,
and then he turns back around. He goes, "Hey, what's
I
taking
don't
so
got
long?"
all day. That's great. Yeah, it's great. Oh man, the Ewoks are so funny to me. Like a lot of people don't like the Ewoks. I love the Ewoks.
I think they're perfect for this movie.
Yeah, and now originally the Ewoks weren't even supposed to be in this movie.
Yeah, I can see
It
that.
was it was supposed to be like Wookiees or something.
Okay.
But I mean, an 8 foot tall Wookiee, yeah, it's intimidating. But tiny little furry bears that run around with spears and they eat you,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more afraid of that. Have you ever played? So remember Battlefront
Yeah.
2?
Yes.
You played the Night on
Yes.
Endor like horror. Oh my god,
Yeah.
I just remember playing with like Noah. We would just be like in the dark,
Oh
like
yeah.
stormtroopers, and you'd be like, you don't know, you hear stuff in the woods, and you just hear like, "Bah, bah, bah." You hear the horn, and you're like, oh god,
I found you.
they know
Yeah.
we're here.
There's that one part of the map where it's like a cave, but I think it's like a one-way cave or
Yeah,
something. And you get in there and it's like, that's it. They're
yeah,
all
you're
in
you're
there waiting
toast.
for you.
Yeah, if the giant spiders don't get you, the Ewoks do.
Yeah.
They're gonna come in and
But
just eat your face.
I know it's like sort of a trope, but I honestly think it's a great reminder that the little people always typically take down the big people.
Yeah, I love it when they're using like logs and stuff to smash
Yeah.
like walkers. It's
Yeah.
great.
And like the rope, and they're holding like the
Yeah,
truck and
because
stuff.
it's like the Empire thinks they're so great with their
Right.
technology, and then they're getting beat to these little bear guys.
Yeah. That's why I've always when the few times I've ever done like RPG stuff with Star Wars, I always make like a Ewok
Yeah,
pilot who's like on the ship with them. Like,
yeah,
if
they're
you that.
great.
Yeah.
So the story mode of Battlefront 2 is like you're playing from the Empire like Secret Service People,
Oh
I
yeah,
forget her name. It's not it's like Urso, but it's not. It's
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
and you play this is so like this is where it takes place. You go to like Endor like right after the Death Star blows up. And
yeah,
it's like from the other side, it's like it's horrible. It's like all these dead troopers everywhere and like all
yeah.
it's like, oh, what happened? It was a massacre. It was a massacre.
Absolute massacre.
Oh, I love it. Have you seen the theories that that one rebel guy with the big white goatee,
Okay.
everybody online says that that's Rex.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. It's like a fan theory or like, they want it to be.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Because he would have been in the rebellion.
yeah. No, I agree, but like he would he would just look like what's his name though.
Well, yeah, this was before any of that stuff.
Well, then Lucas should have gone through and digitized them, or Disney Plus should have.
No. It's a fun theory
It
that
is a
like
fun theory.
it kind of looks like Rex with his big goatee
Yeah.
and his
Well, the thing
helmet on.
we didn't really talk about in any of the first one and this one is like having Mon Mothra like after
Yeah,
the
she
Andor
appears.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's cool. It's cool that it all ties in.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do like that. The sad part is that, because of the timing, because of the timeline, it would have been cool to have like Bale,
Oh yeah,
you know, in those
yeah.
meetings. Although he goes to it's implied that he dies on Alderaan, right?
Oh yeah.
Technically.
I think it's heavily implied that he's on
Yeah.
Alderaan when it happens because we don't see him ever again. So
I think there's a deleted scene where they show Alderaan getting blown up, but
probably.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and what's the other thing? So, yeah, so Andor's dead at this time period.
Yeah.
Um, but I wonder
Yeah.
about the guy from Andor, the older guy.
Oh, uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
wonder what he's doing at this time period. I mean, season 2 of Andor, he probably dies.
Yeah, I just said, oh my
So,
Gilman. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people that were introduced to are dead. I mean, like
yeah,
Yoda goes, Obi-Wan, Vader's like Anakin's dead, you know.
yeah. So how do you feel about that change at the end where the original Vader actor gets cut from the Force Ghost scene?
I think I've always felt this way about it. If they had in any of the movies, any of them, of the six, I should say,
Yeah.
had gone and explained that when you are like some sort of explanation that when you die a Jedi, like that's how you and you know how to become a ghost because you have to have training to become a ghost. Uh,
Yeah. Is that how it is?
from my understanding, right? Because
Yeah.
not everybody shows up as a ghost.
I always assumed if you were strong in the Force, you became essentially the Force,
Hmm.
and the Force could manifest you.
Hmm. See,
I don't think it's a skill you had to learn.
I always thought it was a skill you had to learn because you think about it.
Well, then Siths would be able to do it because they're the most powerful Force wielders there are. I
Well,
guess they just don't care about showing up and be like, "You should have trained more."
right. This is the thing is Qui-Gon is shown in the Clone Wars animated series going and learning how to do it.
Yeah.
He learns how to like become a spirit. It's in an episode, and he goes and he tells
Oh, you're
Yoda about
right.
it, and he goes and tells Yoda how to do it. Great. So now Yoda and Qui Gon can do it, and now you flash forward to the Obi-Wan series, and Qui Gon shows up as a ghost and trains him. So then you're like, he trains Obi-Wan how to become a ghost.
Hmm.
So that's how I've always interpreted it,
I
is
forgot about that episode.
that you have to be trained to do this thing.
Hmm.
So it means Anakin got training at some point. I don't know when, but
Yeah,
perhaps
because
his training was when he was young.
I would say like this is the original interpretation of Force Ghost because George put this in '83.
Right.
So like you said, I forgot about that episode of whatever
Clone Wars.
that that Qui-Gon goes and learns that. That's a cool episode, and
Yeah.
that's cool to have more reference.
Yes.
But if we're going based on George
83.
Lucas
Right.
83, he's
It's
showing like if you're strong in the Force, you become part of the Force. That's why
correct.
Ben says if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can because he's going to become the
Right.
Force.
Right.
So that
And
was my interpretation of it.
I think that having the original guy, I forget what his name is, Alan or
Yeah, I
something,
forget.
like
Yeah.
having him be there makes perfect sense. But now if you're going to go back and
Yeah.
retro change stuff, that it has to be a training thing and you can only become a spirit by through
Well,
training, it may support the idea of having Hayden Christensen be the Force Ghost because that's when he trained as a Jedi and that's how he can materialize.
right.
But they don't explain any of that. They don't really
No.
get into it.
No. And my interpretation of that change of having it be Hayden Christensen, and again, it's the Force, so
Right,
you
right.
can let things go. But my thing is like even though they say that Anakin died as a Jedi, he didn't really die as a Jedi.
No, he did not. No.
He kills the Emperor. He
Right,
tells his son he's sorry, but he still dies kind of as a bad guy. So my interpretation of having Anakin be Hayden Christensen in that scene is showing like this is your father when he was a Jedi Knight. Or not a knight. He never made knight.
right,
But this is your father when he was a Jedi. So now that he's a
right,
Force ghost, now that he's been reclaimed by the Force, this
right,
is his appearance when he was last a Jedi.
right, 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 right,
So I can let that go. I kind of like that. Like this was his perfect Jedi form. This is what he shows up as
right,
a Force ghost, not this old guy.
right, right,
Um, it sucks for the original actor. I'm not a.
right,
I used to hate this change. I
right,
used to really hate this change, but recently, because of like the Obi-Wan series and seeing Hayden Christensen come back
right.
as that role and seeing him in other stuff that will,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
really, really like this change more than I ever have before. I like
yeah.
seeing him.
I don't hate it, but it's one of those things that like because they don't spend time with it, they don't spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange because like honestly, if you looked at it from 83 point of view, if you
Yeah.
had put this young guy there, they'd be like, who
Who's
is
this
this?
guy?
Right,
Exactly. Well, that's true. That is true. Who's that? Yeah. Oh,
right.
that was Anakin when he was a Jedi,
Like,
not when
oh,
he was Vader.
okay. Like, you know, to
And
me,
then we see further on in Star Wars, that like basically the Force is just all of the past Jedi's kind
yeah,
of like in the ether.
right.
I don't know if that's canon. It's just it gets
I
weird.
know, I know. But yeah, I don't know. The thing that I don't that toasts my onions is the him screaming no. That doesn't make any sense to me when he whips
No.
down the thing. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. It was
When he
bad when he
throws,
did it.
yeah.
It was bad when he did it in 3 when he's breaking all the lab equipment.
That's the only reason that they do that in 3 is because they're
I
like, hey, this is what we know from Vader. He screams no when he's upset.
yeah. Yeah. I just don't get it. I don't know why to add it. I don't know why. I I know that they want to tie it back to Revenge of the Sith, but it's like just
Yeah.
make him say if you want him to say something, make him say something else. Don't that's like the one bad thing to not tie to like why tie that back? Like why? Why?
Oh. So that's an ad.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
he's quiet. When he picks him up and he's going like, no, 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 and he's like freaking out,
Oh,
Vader says absolutely nothing
nothing.
and just dumps him.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I
He's
forgot
like
that.
cold hearted about it. He's just like, nope. He just doesn't care about the
They
Emperor
spend a
showing
lot of
anything.
time in that scene anyway of him looking back and forth
Right,
at the
right,
situation and really
right,
coming to a conclusion on what he wants to do.
right.
I totally forgot that that was added in post. That's awful. That's really
Yeah,
bad.
so they went because he does it in three and he screams when he learns that Padme is dead, and
Oh,
that's what he does.
well,
No, no, and he breaks everything. They were like, oh well, now he's gonna say it again when he kills the Emperor.
it makes more sense like him in grief and mad and screaming it in that scene, but this doesn't make any sense.
No, and I've always thought like if you're gonna go back and ADR him saying something, like make it something poignant about the Emperor,
Mhm.
because this is clearly after the prequels have come out. So it's like make him say something to the Emperor as he's chucking him, like you lied to me, or
Yeah. Oh, that would be so much better. Yeah.
or just say to him like basically like, yo, if you could bring Padme back from the dead, we'll try doing it now, and then whip him over the thing. Like
Yeah. Basically, yeah, basically like you lied to me or you used me.
right.
You turned everyone against me.
What if he
You
just
turned
said
him against me.
what if he just grabbed him and he just said Mace Windu was right and just dumps him down the shaft?
Yeah. Yeah.
You deserve to stand trial.
Say hello.
Or no, what he says.
say
Oh, that's what
say
he thinks. Anakin thinks he should stand trial. What's he Mace Windu says you gotta kill him. And he's like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, he
He
was right. You
must
know what?
stand on trial.
Mace,
Yeah.
Mace Windu was right.
You still should go on trial. And throws him off the thing.
I mean, that's
You
just
know
what I
what? Yeah. No, you know what he should say is when he's throwing him over, he goes, you never told me about Plagueis the Wise, or whatever his name was. Was that
yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
name? Have you ever heard the story of Plagueis the
He's like,
Wise?
that's have you ever heard the story of Plagueis the Wise?
They
What?
say he could bring himself back.
Boom. Yeah.
I like that too. That even like Yoda was like, I'm really strong in the Force, but
Yeah.
900 is basically my max.
Yeah.
I love all the scenes with Yoda. Like, Luke
Yeah.
comes in, he's like, I just need to rest. I need to go to my forever rest. And Luke's like, what are you talking about? And he gets that little blanket on. And I
God.
love that scene too. He's like, he's like, hey, so I gotta know, is Vader really my dad? And Yoda's like, well, I'm too tired. I'm too tired for this. And he like rolls over.
I don't want to get into
It's
this
so
right now.
funny. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
I am just too tired for this kind of, these talks are just
I told the council and you he would become
much
this.
fear in him. Sense did I,
But here's the
little
question now.
Annie.
Maybe you can answer this for me because you have followed the Star Wars world closer than
Okay, great, great. You're just begging for
why
spoilers.
why why does Yoda and even Obi-Wan want him to confront Vader to become a Jedi? It's so weird to me.
Mm, they're kind of forcing him down that road. Yeah,
Yeah,
because even Yoda says like, "Oh, it's unfortunate that,"
yeah,
and he's like, "Well, unfortunate that I found out the truth." He's like, "No, it's unfortunate that you rushed to fight him before your training was complete." So
right.
is that Yoda saying like, "I was getting to it. I was, I was gonna
Maybe.
train you because
Yeah,
your emotions were too much at the time where I was just you couldn't even pick up little boulders, right?
right, right.
I was getting you to the point where you know you could handle things and your brain was better, and then I could kind of tell you the truth, and then you could fight Vader and go fully aware of the situation. But you
Right.
ran off. You ran off to save your friends because it's
Yeah,
emotional. So you're too emotional to handle anything
yeah.
else.
Hmm.
So I think that's the thing. I think That's how I choose to look at it
Do
anyway.
you think because until you think he's pushing for it because until Vader's gone, he's always going to be pulled to the dark side?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an interesting thing.
I think the original script was for Luke to be like get rid of Palpatine and then,
Hmm.
basically end on him like being on the dark side,
Hmm.
which would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, it's just interesting because when you watch it from the standpoint of the council and like what Yoda says about Jedi and how they conduct themselves and how there's and even like what Obi-Wan says in A New Hope, like we're
Mhm.
peacekeepers, like all this stuff, and then it's like, well, your training's not complete yet, though, Luke. Don't say you're a Jedi because you're not. And he's like, well, what do you mean? What else do
Yeah,
I got to do? And he's like, you have
you
to
gotta
kill
kill
Vader.
Vader.
And it's like,
That doesn't
isn't
make you a Jedi.
isn't that like how the Sith deal with things?
I'm sorry, isn't that like dealing in absolute?
Right, right.
I don't think that's good.
Yeah, it's just it was an interesting.
Hmm.
It really I was like, that's weird. It's kind of a weird thing to
Be
say.
because like when he shows up back to like Dagobah alive, he's fought Vader once. He's learned the truth.
Right.
And then that's when Yoda says like, "Oh, I don't have anything more to train you. You already know
Yeah.
everything."
Yeah.
But yeah, they're both like really pushing him to go fight
Yeah.
Vader again. I guess that's kind of his last trial. Like, are you going to be strong enough to not join the dark side or not?
Kill your dad.
Yeah, right.
I wonder if
Kill
it's
it.
like,
Do it.
could you imagine if it's still like an antiquated Jedi thought that he's telling Luke to get rid of like the emotional connection?
Maybe.
Don't know. Just was weird. It was weird hearing Yoda basically be like, "Go kill your dad, then you're a
Yeah,
Jedi."
I know it
It's
is
like that's
interesting.
usually what the Emperor says, like a master says to a
Do
Sith
it.
master. Yeah.
Right. Do it. But it's also interesting that like Luke shows that he is strong enough to defeat Vader and
Yeah.
not kill him,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So he's kind of proving in this sense that like the Jedi Order is wrong.
Yes.
It's almost they're almost too emotionally attached. Like it's easier for them to join into the dark side because of their so like stringent on
Right.
being emotional to stuff. And like we have games like Jedi Survivor and that kind of stuff, and that really shows like you can be a great Jedi. You can be
Yeah.
like one with the Force and have connections. You just have to like really,
Yes.
really keep track of yourself, not to give in to like anger and fear.
Right. 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 Right.
And sometimes you do. That's the thing. So that fight scene with Luke and Vader, I mean, he's going to town on Vader.
Yeah. Right.
He's
Right. Right.
really,
Right.
and it
Right.
he does you can it's like you can you can pull strength from the dark side for the light side, but there's this breaking point where if you pull too much, you can kind
Right.
of snap the other direction. So it's like you need to pull just enough like anger from the dark side to be like stronger than your opponent, but then totally
Yeah.
like rebalance yourself before anything bad happens.
Yeah. 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 I
And
know.
I think that's the thing. So like, he when he cuts off his hand, I think that's when he comes like he can kind of like ground himself again and be like, okay, I'm not going to repeat the sins of my father. I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
good.
It's a great, he acts that scene very well where he kind of looks at his hand and he looks and he's just like, no, like, nah, you can kill me. I'm gonna be a Jedi. Like, whatever. Just
Yeah.
like my dad.
I do I love that line. Like, no, I'm going to be a Jedi like my father before me, because like as much as you want to think you haven't brainwashed him all the way,
Right.
he'll never be disgusting like you. I
Oh,
hope
oh,
you fall down this shaft and you live on this planet for like eons, and you use the Force to repair yourself slowly, painfully.
Well, here's the thing.
And I hope everything my father did as the chosen one completely goes out the window.
Isn't he isn't he a clone in the
I don't, I
in the
don't,
ninth movie?
I don't even care
Oh,
enough to get
okay.
into that discussion.
I'm pretty sure he's a clone, but okay.
Yeah, but so is Snoke. So, you know, it's real great,
It's a
cool.
really good
Yeah, it's real cool.
Skywalker saga.
That like hurts.
Well, let
It
me tell
hurts
you,
me. It
this is
hurts
the
me when
good
you say it.
news. This is where I want you to get really excited.
No.
No, you're gonna be excited.
No.
I
No.
have only
And I refuse.
seen episode one of The Mandalorian.
That is good news.
So it's fresh for me.
Yep.
I'm getting into the thing that's like probably in your top five favorite Star Wars things like ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's because it's like top five good Star Wars things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to get to watch it with fresh eyeballs.
Yeah. And I think I obviously because it's the internet, but I don't think I'm terribly spoiled. I've only seen a handful of things. So
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. Even if you are, it's great to see them with your own eyeballs. So
yeah. Plus I don't know the context and stuff like that. So
it's pretty great. It's pretty great. It's yeah. Oh, I'm
yeah,
excited for it.
I'm I mean I know about the child and obviously Grogu. I know about that, but it's like
Yeah.
I don't want, he's in the last, what, 40 seconds of the first episode
And
kind
the
of
first
thing. So,
episode, yeah.
yeah, so it's like, I don't
I,
really know.
and the cool thing too is that I think they're currently filming. They're doing a movie
Oh, okay.
for season 4. Is basically going to be a full length movie. Last I heard, anyway. So that'll be cool.
That'd be cool.
That'll be
Yeah.
fun seeing like Mando and Grogu on the big screen and have a good Star Wars movie to go see in person. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that's true. You think it's going to be a to theaters and not a Disney Plus thing?
That's what I heard, like a
Okay,
theatrical
cool.
release.
I'd
Yeah.
like that. That'd be
They
nice. Like
have
a,
not
almost
had a
like a
good theatrical release in a while for like Star Wars.
yeah. I'd be happy with like another solo Rogue
Yeah.
One movie release. That would be
Well,
fun.
because that's the thing that like Disney, I don't know what's going on over there, but it's like they spend billions and billions of dollars in this like, huge green screen studio, and they,
Yeah.
all these actors and all this stuff. And they put like 12 episodes out on Disney Plus, and it's you can watch all 12. Yeah. Oh no, well
Yeah.
they release weekly. They
Yeah.
release weekly. So whatever. So they release weekly with 12 episodes, so you have to pay 2 months for Disney Plus, or you just
Yeah.
subscribe after
Right.
they're
Right.
all aired.
Right. And then just
But it's like, so they're spending all this money on this show that everybody loves the show. I would go see 2 movies a year if they were in the theaters. I'd pay to go see them.
yeah.
And they put all this on Disney Plus for $7 a month. It's like, you're not making any money. How are you? You're not making any money. So now they're like, hey, so
Yeah.
before we totally run this series into the dirt, why don't we put out like a movie like in the theater?
Oh.
And they're like, what? Back to formula.
I
Yeah.
I get the impression that like, and I've heard it from a lot of different directors and actors that like the theater experience is like dying out.
Oh, absolutely. That's why you get all these stupid movies that come out, and the directors and actors like, this movie was like made to see in the theater. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
aren't all movies made to see? No,
No.
but this one specifically,
This one is.
you
Yeah.
like have to go see it in the theater. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Good to know. The way we like shot it is like for a screen. And that's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, theaters aren't doing
Yeah.
so hot,
It's crazy to me though, yeah.
but nothing is. Theaters aren't doing good. Disney is not doing good. I don't know. The only money they got coming in this month is, the new Deadpool movie that's coming out. I'm sure
Right.
they'll make good money on that. And
It's
then
just
Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman will be done, and they'll be like, "Well, that worked. Let's just write another one
let's
without
do
those
it
guys."
again.
And yeah,
Yeah.
because they don't understand why it'll do good. They'll just see money, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a red guy and a yellow guy. Well, how hard is that? I don't get it. I don't get it."
Yeah.
But yeah, so that wraps up the
Yeah.
original trilogy.
Super fun to go back and watch them all again.
It was fun. Yeah, I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
I hated Clone Wars as much as I remembered. But other than that, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going back and watching them. And
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to literally have watched, the prequels and then Obi-Wan and Andor and Rogue One and now the original trilogy.
yep,
It's
pretty
nice.
good.
It's
It's
cool
pretty
to see
good.
how this all builds upon itself. And honestly, I think the sad thing is like if you just watch the original trilogy, they're great movies and they just work. They very seamlessly play off of each other. And as
Yeah.
much as I like a lot of the prequel stuff, like Andor and Rogue One and a little bit of Obi-Wan, like most of Obi-Wan was pretty decent.
Yeah,
Uh, it kind of makes some of the sequels, the original trilogy stuff, feel weird and like out of place.
it does.
And the reality is it shouldn't, but it does.
No, but it's kind of disjointed in places. But
Yeah.
honestly, the best is, I mean, you get three, no, you get four, in my opinion, and your opinion too, probably, is you get four great movies, in a trilogy. Well, it wouldn't be a
Mm,
trilogy because there's four
I
movies.
know what you mean.
But
Quadrilogy.
if you watch Rogue One,
Yeah.
The Return of the Jedi, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great stretch. I mean, no matter when you watch it,
Really good.
they all flow together. There's no
Yeah.
weird, you know, it's great. It's a great four movie arc.
I mean, I almost argue watching from Andor to Return of the Jedi is
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially, after if season two, you know,
Oh, that's true. Yeah, like match it up even more.
like how
Yeah.
that flows into each
Yeah,
other
that's
will be
true.
cool.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested for that. That'll be fun.
It will be fun. Be fun to be watching Mando and all like the more future shows and then like go back and watch season two of
And
the
it's gonna
thing.
be weird, yeah.
But that's all right.
But oh well. It's kind of what we do for Star Trek, right?
Yeah, that's what happens.
Like, hey, I'm done with the original series. Like, let's move on. And then it's like, oh, but Strange New World season 3 is out. It's like, all right, let's watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fun.
it is.
But yeah, so how are we doing Mando? Are we doing half and half? Season
Yeah, I
one?
think that's kind of that's what we did for Andor.
Okay.
And
Yeah, that works out pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I have not rewatched the first season in a while, so that'll
Cool.
be fun.
Yeah. No, and I feel that for me too, not being like a hardcore Star Wars nut in a while, watching all of this and getting like ready for it and like knowing that Mando takes place that like soon after this
Hmm.
feels good.
It's really cool. It flows into each other pretty good, and um, it's kind of like the cool part of the timeline history is like after the rebels win,
Yeah.
you get to kind of see like how the Rebel Alliance kind of takes over,
Makes sense.
how they take care of the galaxy, and like anything, it's the you get to see like it's not as easy as they thought it would be.
Yeah.
But it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. I love the whole concept of like there being like empire like holdouts, like across the
Yeah.
galaxy that you're kind of Now, like basically, like now they're the rebels. It's
Yeah,
great. It's really good.
that's cool.
So yeah, it'll be cool. And it ties in a lot with the Clone Wars stuff and Rebels,
Cool. Cool.
which you've seen, but we haven't talked about on here.
Yeah, I haven't
We
seen
didn't
Rebels,
cover them.
but I have been slowly watching it.
Yeah,
So
but you've
I
seen all the Clone Wars though, I
yeah.
think.
Well, I haven't seen the
The last
Disney
season.
Plus season. Yeah,
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, you should get to that because
yeah.
it ends with like Order 66 and
I know they
they
go back and
basically
like animate episode 3. I know they do
it's
that.
really good. It's worth watching for that.
Yeah.
And you probably should before we get into like Ahsoka live
Okay.
action show.
Okay.
At least those last few episodes because this
Okay.
is like where she leaves.
Gotcha.
I almost wonder if we should do just like well, we can talk about
Okay.
it. But
Okay.
let's wrap it up because we've been talking about Empire Strikes Back for
Yeah.
not
I
Empire Strikes
meant
Back.
to
I can't even keep them. I can't even
before
keep
you
track.
before you wrap it up, I think if you go to your email, I sent you pictures I meant to send you earlier.
Oh. Oh, that's cool. Oh, these
Yeah,
are cool shots.
yeah. So I don't know if you want to like share them or just like use them, but these are like promotional Return of the Jedi like pictures,
Wow. These are great. I've never seen these.
right? That's kind of why I sent them because they're like they seem super rare.
Wow. The black and white is terrific.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm. This is to me, this is like Luke's like signature look with the black robes.
yeah,
It's pretty cool that like all other Jedi's always wear like tan,
yeah,
and he's got these black robes. Even when he shows up back on Endor and he's got the saber on his belt and he's got like
yeah.
part of his collar folded over and it's like
Oh
white.
yeah,
Oh, it's so good. It's like it's well, because Lucas loves samurai spaghetti westerns.
yeah,
It's very much like the Ronin has come back to town and it's great.
yeah,
I love it. They said that
yeah.
the original ending he wanted um like the final shot to be like a western and have Luke just like walking off into the desert of like Tatooine just off into the
Wow.
sunset.
I could see it.
But they wanted to be a little bit more happy and show how the Gungans are happy that they can
Yeah,
not live underwater anymore, I guess. I don't
yeah. No, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
it's pretty great. So yeah, that wraps up Return of the Jedi. All right, well, we will see you next time when we get into some Mando.
Yeah.
Who's the guy in the chrome helmet? And who's that green baby? Well, what does his face look like? And have we seen him before? The world may never know.
Never know.
Is this Yoda and Yaddle's love child? Who knows? All right. Well, we'll catch you guys next time on the Mando cast.
Yep, yep. That's how we're ending this podcast with the real celebration song.
Oh, it's like freedom.
Yeah,
We're
it's like
free.
freedom. We got freedom. And now we can be free. Come on and celebrate.
Freedom.
Yup, nub. He chopped, yup, nub. Told me something that she need. A good oop dark fling, ooh, ah.
We dive in the movies while we sip our coffee, talking about the plot, breaking it down, no make believe. Two brothers-in-law, we geek out. It's our destiny. Nerd Holes podcast, opening up a wormhole. Can't you see?